Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Lyoko Retrospectives. And today we're going to be discussing episode 88 of Lyoko, Cousins Once Removed. And I apologize if I'm going to rush through the plot summary. I just did a whole plot summary and then I had to stop recording because of stupid stuff. But yeah, I'm just going to rush through this. Yeah, as the title of the episode implies, we meet someone's cousin, in this case Jeremy's. It turns out that his cousin Patrick is going to go to Caddick, and as a result, because he's a new student and he's directly related to Jeremy, they're placing him to live with Jeremy. However, Jeremy doesn't like his cousin because, well, his cousin's cooler than him, and unfortunately that coolness kind of backfires onto Jeremy. Specifically, like when they were at camp, because last time they were at camp together, Patrick unwittingly stole all of Jeremy's friends and didn't spend enough time with Jeremy. As a result, he just kind of grew to resent the guy, and, well, here we are now. Patrick, on the other hand, despite this, is still friendly to Jeremy and actually does think that Jeremy's a really cool kid. But, of course, Jeremy is not in a good mood. He doesn't want to see him. And on top of that, he's working on a new security program for the skid, and he wants to finish it. As such, he throws Patrick out, Patrick is, of course, maybe a little hurt, but he's understanding and instead goes to play foosball with Jeremy's friends because they want to play foosball in the rec room. But while in the rec room, they talk about how Jeremy is mean to Patrick, and Sissy overhears this, and so she decides, well, maybe I can use this to my advantage, and so she tries to get Patrick to let her into Jeremy's room so she can snoop through his computer and get dirt, but Patrick isn't that kind of guy, so he just says, no, I'm not going to do that. Though later on, when Patrick goes into Jeremy's room, she barges in anyway, so yeah. In the meantime, though, Jeremy ends up finding a replica on the network, and so he calls the group away and locks his room because he got the program finished, he just needs to be uploaded to the supercomputer. As such, this group gets sent off, they go in the skid, they go in the network, but when Sissy goes to check into Jeremy's laptop, Jeremy's computer, sorry, she sees the program and she calls Herb to help her get through it, and so he shuts it down just as the group gets attacked by a bevy of Xana monsters, in this case, sharks. As a result, the skid is left defenseless and is left sinking, and unfortunately, while the remainder of the group is dealing with the sharks, a new monster makes its appearance. It looks like a pod, but with legs, and a drill as it tries to break into the skid to get to Aelita. As such, Herb is able to access a bunch of files about Aelita, about the audio recordings that the group did to try and get out of certain situations, and she wants to present it to her dad so they can get expelled. But Patrick's at that point. It's like, no, this is too far. I'm sure he has a logical explanation. We have to just leave this be. But it's at that point that Xana takes advantage of an opportunity. Sorry, that's my dog. And activates a tower on Lyoko. Excuse me a second. Sorry about that. But yeah, he activates a tower on Lyoko, and through it he possesses Sissy and Herb. And unfortunately, Patrick isn't strong enough to fight off two people possessed by Xana, so he gets thrown out of the room, while the possessed Herb gets further screwing with the program, though thankfully Jeremy figured out that whatever was going on was coming from his room, so he put up a firewall, so that delays them a bit. Unfortunately, while he does go there to help Patrick out, unfortunately, neither of them are strong enough to face off against Sissy and Herb, and eventually Herb does hack through the firewall. As such, Jeremy decides that if he wants to stop them and cut them off from the supercomputer, he needs to shut off the power. Without the power, they'll be cut. So he runs off with Sissy running after, and Patrick doesn't. And Patrick admittedly doesn't know. For some reason, he doesn't stay behind, but he does try to chase after Sissy, which results in him getting blasted point blank with a blast. But Jeremy does manage to shut off the power to the school, which does cut Herb off. And as a result, the group is able to fend off the remaining monsters, get the shield back up on the skid, and send that pod thing flying. And as such, Jeremy, with the knowledge that the tower's been activated, because Jeremy warned them before he left, they go back to Lyoko and deactivate it, thereby stopping Sissy and Herb in their tracks, and they do return to the past because Herb was severely injured. As such, the episode ends with Jeremy deciding, I'll just do this later, and wanting to go play foosball with the group and Patrick, but as they're leaving, it turns out that the principal got a message from Patrick's parents, and apparently they want him to go to school closer to home, so he's going to be taken out of Caddock. So, but though Jeremy does say, well, maybe you can stay at least for a foosball game. So, yeah. Overall, the episode is fine. I did have like this whole thing about how maybe Jeremy's relationship with Patrick may have to do with some of his social awkwardness, but honestly, I kind of don't think that's the case. While Jeremy does strive to have friends, he has his own. Admittedly, you could probably just say that his grudge with Patrick is a consequence of his own, well, social awkwardness, as I've just said. I don't like saying it like that, but that's all that comes to mind when I'm talking like this. It's pretty much it's just Patrick hit it off more with Jeremy's friends, and as a result, Jeremy was just left in the dust. However, Patrick, but that's kind of the thing. Patrick, while is kind of like the opposite of Jeremy, but he's not like a mere opposite. Like, he's not a jerk, no, but personality-wise, where Jeremy excels, Patrick lacks, and vice versa is also true. Like, Jeremy, as we've seen throughout the series, lacks social cues. He doesn't really understand talking with people or interacting with people on a more social level. Like, for an example, while he and Aelita do get along most of the time and get along enough to make goo-goo eyes at each other, whenever Aelita has tried to go off and have her own life and do her own thing, Jeremy has kind of scoffed at it. And while he does eventually change his mind because he wants Aelita to be happy, at the same time, Jeremy doesn't really comprehend what is more fun for other people and because for him it's not. And so it kind of makes sense. But whereas Patrick, he's rarely fun. He's great at video games. He's great at sports. He's fun with playing a foosball. He's more social. He definitely feels like he's the inverse of Jeremy in that regard. But likewise, he also envies Jeremy because Jeremy's smarter than him. He even says, it's hard to do the foosball stuff, but it's even harder to do all that math stuff. And Jeremy's great at that. Like, no, he has not one bad word to say about Jeremy throughout this whole episode. He's defending him at every point. Like, when Sissy and Herb are scrolling through Jeremy's computer and they find all these files that he forged for Aelita, they see all this stuff, and he's like, oh, I'm sure he has a logical explanation for this. We have to at least give him the chance. But of course, Sissy being a complete mega bitch, she decides, no, we're just going to give this to my father. And Patrick's like, no, I'm not going to let you do this. Like, he's just a cool guy. And honestly, that could probably explain why he was able to steal Jeremy's friends, even when he wasn't trying to. Because again, he's a lot more sociable, whereas Jeremy is, I don't want to say antisocial, he's more introverted. He's more introverted, and as a result, he's more at home when he's studying rather than when he's socializing. And so it makes sense why that's the case, but likewise, that's probably where they started butting heads. Why Jeremy has it out for him. Because Jeremy does want friends. It's just that he lacks the necessary social cues to keep them. With the Lyoko group being the exception because, well, they learned about the supercomputer and they wanted to help him free Aelita, which in turn allowed him to grow closer to them. And so there you go. But likewise though, Patrick is an alright character. But otherwise though, Patrick's an alright character, just a decent guy. No real arc there, and while Jeremy and him do butt heads, it's resolved rather easily. In this case, it's resolved because Patrick helped Jeremy fend off the Xana-possessed Sissy and Herb, and, well, having his cousin nearly die on him probably would make Jeremy realize, okay, maybe I'm being kind of a jerk here. But at the same, so it's resolved rather quickly. So it's not done horribly, but it's just there. It's the standard B plot for Lyoko. The real action is with the Xana stuff, and with the stuff and the cousin being just kind of there to add more drama just be the story in the real world. Sorry, I really just stop my sentences just dead in their tracks, don't I? But yeah. Otherwise, though, I can't really think of a lot else to say about the episode. The stuff with Patrick was decent. He was a nice character. It was kind of interesting learning more about Jeremy's past and kind of just getting more of a window into his life, I suppose. But otherwise, it's the same standard Lyoko stuff. It's great, fun action, tense moments, great that just keep getting it down to the wire, and ultimately having it resolved just in the nick of time, as per usual. Still fun. I guess really the only other plot detail was that they found another replica, and all we need to do is just find out where it is. So yeah, I wish I had more to say. I really don't. It's just there's only so much you can talk about with filler episodes. So I guess that's about it. Thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and I'll see you next week. Take care.